Sarah, and we're here talking with Hemant, our brother and a long-time devotee of Swami since he was a child. His family has been with Swami for generations and generations, held very privileged positions in nearness and dearness to Sai, and he has beautiful stories to share with us. Brother, we're so glad that you're here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And welcome to the 95 Stories.
Thank you. My first actual memory of Swami is he was performing my Maasi's wedding. Her nickname was Bindu Maasi. And so Swami performed Bindu Maasi's wedding, and I was about 2.5. And I still remember my mom made the journey with a 3.5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and herself. And we made it to India. We're in Puttaparthi, and I don't remember a whole lot of the wedding, but I do remember the only chair in the room was Swami's. And I remember turning to my mother and my Nani, who were both sitting on the floor, and we were sitting next to them, and asking, why does he get a chair? And of course my mother looked at me and gave me that stern motherly look. And Swami, as loving as possible, called us over, and he asked us what our name was. He asked us how old we were. And I remember having this very loving conversation with this being who obviously was important because we were all sitting around him. And then after what seemed like probably it was no more than 4 or 5 minutes, he let us go sit back down. And I looked at my mother and I said, I like him. And to this day, my Nani and my mom will say, so what do you think of Swami? Oh, I like him. And that's one of those things where I don't remember a whole lot about that trip, but I do remember meeting Swami and just the loving energy that he exuded. You know, for those who've met him and just read him or even seen him, this love that he exudes is like a mother, like a father, like everything you could ever imagine. And it was amazing because from that experience, I remember my next one when we were 5, we went to Puttaparthi as a family again, and I had my first interview. And Swami asked my sister and I, our names again, and he was joking with us, and I still remember he asked me, where's your wife? And that has been an ongoing joke my entire life with Swami. But during that interview, Swami had materialized a locket for me. And he materialized the same one for my sister and for me. And we both wore them religiously. So for years and years and years, we always kept Swami, with us. And not just in our hearts and our thoughts, but also, in our day-to-day life, talking with him and with bhajans and on every Sunday and then starting the day with him. And I still remember we were entering high school. I mean, I'd been to Puttaparthi several times in between, but this was my first time I was going to go by myself. Now I was old enough, my parents felt I was responsible enough to make the travel by myself. And
this is from the U.S. when you were in high school?
Yeah, I was 15. Okay. So my first trip by myself, I was in high school, and I was very excited to go because the locket Swami had given to me had been pulled on by somebody and it snapped. And so of course I was grief stricken. Swami had given this to me, and all those thoughts flooded my mind, like, gosh, did I do something that's bothered Swami? Is he upset with me, etc.? So of course I'm going to Puttaparthi, and in the back of my mind I'm praying, Swami, please fix this. Please, show me the love, the compassion that I know that you've shown me my whole life, but I was heartbroken by this, right? So I come to Puttaparthi, and I'm seeing my grandparents and enjoying talking with them and spending that quality time. And I turn to my grandparents, who have been residing in Puttaparthi since 1982, full time. And I asked them, do you think Swami will see me without mom and dad? Do you think he'll see me alone? And of course my Nana, who sits with Swami, on a day-to-day, goes, no, he won't. And my Nani says, but you can pray. And I still remember Nana was joking. He goes, Malaka, no. And Nana goes, but you can pray. So that was the first day I arrived in Puttaparthi. So, my first day was wonderful. I was sitting in darshan land. I got a beautiful darshan of Swami. He walks right by. And the second day, the same thing. Third day, by the third day, I was starting to feel like, gosh, Swami doesn't even know I'm here. And I must have really done something wrong. Here I am. I've had so many close encounters. Granted, they're always with my parents or my mom, my dad, but here I am by myself for my first time. Mm-hmm. And my locket has been broken. Maybe I've fallen from grace. Maybe I did something. And the third day, Swami walks by, he looks at me, but doesn't say anything. Fourth day, I'm a little further back. And Swami comes out for morning darshan, and he's approaching, but instead of coming to our areas, he goes to the opposite side. Mm-hmm. So I have a view of him, and he continues on. And my heart just sunk. I mean, it was as if the floor was ripped out from beneath me. And I remember I put my head between my knees, and I was just devastated. Swami, forgive me. Just if you can hear me, please talk to me. Call on me. Tell me you can hear me. Some way, form, fashion. I'm here after years of being away. And I think at that point I hadn't been back to Puttaparthi for close to 4 years, just with school and such. So I was craving that attention, that way of communicating with Swami. And Swami does his morning darshan. He goes up the steps, and he's already called several people for interview. And I don't even look up at this point. I'm just immersed in speaking with Swami. And all of a sudden, I lift my head up, and I look over, and I see Swami speaking to somebody. And this gentleman is listening intently, and he looks over, and Swami's pointing to the men's side. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Instant. And I'm like, he's looking for me. So here I am in the middle of the sea of people, and this gentleman comes down the steps, and he's looking. And then he says, Dr. Shoi's grandson. And before he even got the words out of his mouth, I started gathering my book and my cushion and my fan, and the Sevadol is like, sit. I'm like, no, he's looking for me. And as the words are coming out of the gentleman's mouth, and I'm already standing up, getting up,
wow.
The gentleman ushers me up. And by that time, everyone's already inside the interview room. And there's no space. I mean, there's 6 inches. And of course, Swami gets everyone to make space. And so I come inside and I sit down. And I'm the only child in that room by himself, teenager. And for lack of any common sense, I just sat right where I walked in. So there's the ladies' side, the men's side, Swami's chair, and literally maybe 6 to 8 inches. And everyone's starting to move to give me a little space, and I sat down. So Swami looks at me and goes, you're here, sit. So what do you do? Swami says, sit. You sit. That's it. So I sat right down. And now Swami, if anyone's been in the interview room, knows he always comes, he turns on the light, turns on the fan, closes the door. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting, but I'm completely in his way. And he's laughing. He's having fun. And, I'm taking everything very literal at this point. So he comes and he walks over to close the door. He steps on me. And he literally steps on my feet. And I'm inches away from his robe, right? Uh-huh. And he locks the door. And he's still standing on me. And then he tells the ladies to scoot over. Mm-hmm. And he takes one step, leaves his feet on top of my feet, 1 foot on my feet, and then switches on the light and the fan. And now I'm in utter bliss, because here I am. Okay, I've gone from this great abyss of emotional roller coaster, right? I'm in the trenches, and there's I'm grasping for breath, basically. And all of a sudden, this hand reaches out, grabs me, scoops me up, brings me inside. And I'm like, okay, he heard my prayer. And, you know, he starts asking other people questions. Who are they? Where are they from? Just like in most interviews. And so Swami turns to me, and he looks at me and goes, give me the locket. And so I get on my knees to take off my locket, and I tried explaining. He ushers me to be quiet. And he shows everyone that this was the locket. It was made of silver. I gave it to him when he was younger, and just waves his hand and it's gone. And he then calls another devotee to go into the inner interview room, and I'm thrilled to be there, but I'm like, oh no, he's taking it away. He's taking my locket away. He comes out, and he looks at me and goes, I know. And he materialized a ring, and it was a green ring, and he put it on. And he says, you like it? I said, Swami, anything you give me, I'm going to love. And yes, it pats my cheek, sit down, takes someone else into the interview room, and comes back out and says, give me the ring. So I take off the ring. He looks at it, goes, not now, not yet. He waves his hand, the ring is gone. Waves his hand again, produces another ring with 3 diamonds in it this time, puts it on. Calls another couple to go inside the interview room, comes back out and says, you like the ring? I said, yes, Swami, anything you give me, I will love. Give me the ring. Takes it back. Now, this emotional roller coaster for males, right? So here I am, locket gone, first ring gone, second ring gone. And this time, he goes, you're too young. People think you're married. We'll give the wrong impression. Ring goes away. And he materializes another locket. This time it's in gold. And he goes, same Baba, same Om. Thicker chain. So he puts it on me. And when he does that, he looks at me, and he pats my cheek and he says, I'm here. And he had made it a point during the summers to do summer discourses. And he had said something very profound that stuck with me, because throughout our life, we always think, where's Swami? Where's God? And he goes, I'm here. And he points to his, puts his hand on my chest, taps it, and says, I'm with you, in you, above you, and around you. After that, I have to remind myself, Hemant, you've been blessed to have Swami not only in your life, but every aspect of your life. And so for that, I'm happy to share that, but I want to remind everybody that every aspect, Swami's there. And you may not see him, but you will feel his presence. You'll feel him manipulating the course of the world for things to work for you that just won't ordinarily happen. And so I've been blessed to have Swami in my life. We've all been blessed to be born at the time of Sai. And, having been born into a Sai family and knowing nothing but Sai, for me, it's just proof that there's so much more than we understand. We've all heard about the miracles. We've all seen and experienced him in some form and fashion. And it's just the most critical part is remembering that he's with us, in us, above us, and around us.
Jesus.
Sarah.